Frolicking friends, and welcome back to my channel for the second generation of our watercolor berry pastel CAS Rainbowcy. So last time you guys voted for your favorite Gen 2 baby, and the winner of that was Paramour. So she will be our Generation 2 heir and carry on the legacy. So let's go ahead and age her up to a young adult. Now the family trait for this challenge is creative, so we'll definitely give her that. And then I wish that we just had more trait slots in general, so I think what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to keep one of her initial original traits, and then I'm going to change one of those into one of the other ones from the challenge. So this is what I mean. So for Generation 2, which we're going with pink, they're supposed to be creative, outgoing, and cheerful. So I think I am going to exchange her unflirty for outgoing, mostly because I really want to keep her evil. I feel like that was kind of one of her defining traits. And of course, evil and cheerful just seems, I don't even know if you can choose both of those. I'll be curious to see that. But she's going to be a best-selling author. Just out of curiosity, oh, we can make her cheerful and evil. Actually, I think I might like that even better, because she was unflirty, which I feel like, not that you can't be unflirty and outgoing at the same time, but I kind of like the fact that she's both evil and cheerful. Like, she's going to prank you, but she's going to be happy and cheerful about it. And then we will change her aspiration to the best-selling author. So this is our Generation 2 spouse, Miss Southern Belle Nectarine, by my friend Rowena, who is Simblr of the Coolest Girl on Tumblr. And so I'll get into a little bit of their backstory together as they start having beautiful children. But isn't she just too precious? Oh my gosh, I love it. She's so cute. I can't wait to see their babies. All right, with that, let's get into it. So as you know, Paramour is our evil little soul. However, throughout high school, Paramour found herself wishing in some ways that she could be like the other girls and have boyfriends and get all gooey and gross in the hallways. But if you ever suggested something of the sort, she'd give you a good wet willy or worse. She started to write romance novels in secret. She'd stay up late at night after everyone else in her family had gone to bed and write beautiful tales of romance, adventure, and heartache. She could never share these ideas or stories with anyone she knew, as she built quite the reputation for herself and was worried others would tease her over her stories. So she joined an online group of writers. There was one girl from the Sim-K countryside that she especially developed a bond with. A few years after she graduated high school, she saved up enough money to visit her friend Southern Belle Nectarine in the quaint little town of Henford-on-Bagley. Her friend lived on a beautiful countryside farm, and Paramour learned to get her hands dirty and to help gather all the fresh farm ingredients for the lovely, tasty dishes that Belle and her family would make. Throughout the summer, Paramour's friendship with Belle blossomed into a once-in-a-lifetime romance. Paramour convinced Belle to come back with her and pursue her desire to start a farm-to-table restaurant dining experience there. In order to bring Belle back with her, they had to get married right away, so they had a small, beautiful ceremony on Belle's family farm. It was about 9 months later that they welcomed a very special bundle into the world, their daughter, Peachy Keen Watercolor. She was the sweetest, charming little girl as a toddler, but as she grew a little older, she started acting out. She was stealing things from her classmates at school, and Paramour and Belle were constantly being called in to smooth things over with the other families. One night, while having a heart-to-heart, Peachy Keen opened up to her mothers that she didn't feel like she was really meant to be a girl. She also didn't feel like a boy. She just felt like she didn't fit in with the other children at her school. After some further discussion and Paramour sharing with Peachy Keen about those that identify as non-binary, Peachy Keen decided to change their pronouns to they, them. They never fully grew out of their klepto ways, but as Peachy Keen grew, they developed a love for art. It started after spending a summer with their grandmother Gossamer and admiring all of her beautiful work she'd created over the years. Peachy Keen wanted to grow up and build a beautiful mansion that they could display the many works of art that Gossamer had painted, as well as some other artists that they discovered. Southern Belle's restaurant took a little while to set up and get noticed, but with time, it really started to become a big hit with tourists and locals. The idea of having farm-fresh ingredients in their delicious meals was a big hit. Belle's menu had a little something for everyone, which was greatly appreciated by vegetarians, vegans, and those with gluten intolerances. A few years after Peachy Keen was born, Paramour started feeling sick and nauseous, and then so did Belle. They thought maybe it was a stomach bug, or maybe some of their produce or meat had been off, but a trip to the doctors revealed that they were both pregnant. Paramour was several weeks ahead of Belle, but they'd both be giving birth within a few weeks of each other. Paramour gave birth to a sweet but very fussy little girl, Pitaya Watercolor. Pitaya was a beautiful little girl with a lovely mix of both her mother's genetics. As she grew, her fussy toddler ways led into some also familiar, slightly evil tendencies. Belle and Paramour would sometimes call up Gossamer, unsure what to do about Pitaya's latest situation, and Gossamer would chuckle to herself and recount how it was nothing compared to some of the things that Phlox or Paramour used to get up to. She would encourage the young mothers to do their best to teach Pitaya right from wrong, but also to make allowances for her natural spirit. Everyone needs an outlet, Gossamer would chime. I have my painting, Paramour, you have your writing, and Belle, you have your restaurant. Gossamer's advice was helpful, and Pitaya found that she really enjoyed working with Belle in the garden. In fact, she liked researching different plants, and especially how to prepare them in a way that worked them into meat substitutes. You see, at about age 13, Pitaya had decided she wanted to adopt the vegetarian lifestyle. She felt that the beautiful plants that Mother Nature had provided us were the best way to fuel our bodies. While Paramour had given birth to little Pitaya, a few weeks after her birth, Belle gave birth to another beautiful little girl, Clementine Watercolor, who was almost the spitting image of Belle herself, except for her snow-white eyes that she'd inherited from Paramour. Clementine was a perfect little angel to Pitaya's fussy ways. They really did work to balance each other out that way. As she grew, Clementine also liked to help Belle out in the garden. She noticed that some of their produce didn't look as big and shiny as what they saw in the grocery store. After she learned about pesticides and the chemicals that the big farming industry used and their negative impacts on the environment, Clementine became quite the little activist. She worked with Paramour to create a little pamphlet that she would hand out to the restaurant patrons to educate them on the difference that getting locally grown produce would have on the earth. She also started a recycling program at her elementary school. It only seemed natural that as Pitaya declared she'd be following a vegetarian diet, that Clementine would follow suit. It was better for the environment after all. Paramour and Belle had their hands completely full with 3 children, a farm, a restaurant, and the ever-demanding schedule that Paramour's editor kept her on. Thus, they thought that they would stop after having 3. It was several years after the girls were born. They were getting ready to enter middle school by the time Belle discovered that she was pregnant, which came as a complete surprise to all. She gave birth to another beautiful baby girl, Lily Pilly Watercolor, who was also the most charming little girl. Lily Pilly was always the most polite, well-behaved little girl. She enjoyed learning all about the proper dining manners and took pride in setting the dinner table as well as the settings for the restaurant. Although she was always the most proper, well-mannered little girl, it didn't stop Lily Pilly from being an adventurous little girl on the playground. She was definitely more of a tomboy than her two older sisters, and as she grew older and entered her teenage years, she yearned to have bigger and greater adventures someday. She had big dreams of traveling to Mount Komorebi and reaching its summit. So since this concludes all of the Generation 3 babies, you guys are going to be tasked with picking your favorite to be the heir. So looking forward, the Gen 3 Peach rules of the challenge will have the heir be creative, squeamish, and good, and their aspiration will be bodybuilder, although I might be doing another one of the athletic ones, just depending. But the idea is that the sim will be into like wellness and that kind of healthy lifestyle as a way to offset and use the healing powers of yoga, because Barry's original sim suffered from some anxiety. So not sure if that's helpful in helping decide who your favorite is. Alrighty, it's that time to show off the 4 Generation 3 babies so that you guys can make your decision on who you want to be heir. So our eldest is Peachy Keen Watercolor. They use they, them pronouns. And they have the art lover and kleptomaniac traits and currently have the mansion baron aspiration. Their younger sister is Pataya Watercolor. And she has the vegetarian, evil, and her current aspiration is freelance botanist. And her almost twin sister is Clementine Watercolor. And she is a recycle disciple and a vegetarian and has the eco-innovator aspiration currently. And the youngest daughter is Lily Pilly Watercolor. And she is adventurous and proper and has the extreme sports enthusiast aspiration. So the poll is down below for you guys to vote for your favorite Gen 3 kiddo to be the heir and carry on the next part of this Create a Sim legacy. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and maybe consider subscribing. Happy simming!